Greetings, traveler.
Hello everyone, let's have a look at all the new beast cards. We have a new tier 6 beast. On death rattle, it summons a tier 3, 4, and 5 beast. Now, we will see that this will replace Coiler, fulfilling a similar role of providing just a lot of bodies on death rattle. Macaw has been changed. At first glance, it's the exact same card, but there is a little sentence added that says, except this minions, which means that if the Macaw has a death rattle, it cannot trigger its own death rattle, which is important. And some of you probably already know why this is important, because there is another card that is coming back. First, we have Slyraptor coming back. So this is just a nice little tempo tool on tier 4, a 1/3 that summons a 7/7, and then that 7/7 could have another death rattle, summoning more beasts, etc. So this is overall a really nice minion to stabilize, and used to be insane when Banana Slamma was in the game, because this could summon an extra Banana Slamma, and it was just super silly. Leapfrogger is back! Probably the most loved and simultaneously hated card in the game. For those of you who have never seen Leapfrogger in action, this looks like a little innocent card. Oh, you know, if this dies, I get +1/+1 and it keeps hopping around. Who cares? It's 1/1. Right. When you have Titus on the board, that 1/1 turns into 2/2. That 2/2 turns into 4/4, that 4, and so on and so on. So any kind of exponential scaling is really good. It gets out of control really quickly. So this is why Macaw can't copy or trigger its own death rattle, because then you can just have the Macaw get a huge Leapfrogger stack of death rattles, and then when Macaw attacks, it will just keep healing itself, which actually used to be a thing. You would see these combats where Macaw would just heal itself over and over, because it would have a really big stack of death rattles and trigger itself over and over, which was silly, just really annoying to fight against. So they disabled that, and now with the change to Macaw's ability, they need to put in another safeguard, which means, right, Macaw can't trigger itself, which is good. So something I do want to ask you guys is, what do you guys think is going to be theoretical optimal leaper board? Because we will see that several cards are being removed, changing how we're going to have to play leapers. Before we get to the removed cards, Primate is being moved to tier 5. Now, we've already covered this in a previous video. There's going to be lots of trinkets that you can use with the Primate, farming a lot of gold, so probably for the best that you don't have access to this card too early. Here we can see the removed cards. So lots of death rattle support gone. No more Gift Horse, no more Coiler, no more Rat Pack. And then Bull is also out, but that was really just a tempo card. There were not many boards that would run a Bull, and it's not really a card you would build around. But Gift Horse has been iconic for the last few metas. It's extremely good with Goldrun and would probably quite easily break the game with Leapfroggers, because this is the ideal death rattle to just put a lot of frogs on, because it's a death rattle that just makes more death rattles and keeps going. So no Gift Horse, no Coiler, no Rat Pack. That's why I'm interested to see, with these cards out, how would you guys build the perfect leaper board? For lesser trinkets, we start off with Feral Talisman, which has already been revealed. It's just this aura buffing thing, which generally goes quite well with beasts, but with the removal of all these death rattle minions, I wonder, is it really that much of a beast trinket right now? Then we have N'Zoth, which is obviously iconic for beasts. N'Zoth loves beasts, and now anyone can be a N'Zoth. Tiger Carving is a new one. Whenever a friendly minion takes damage, it gives a random friendly minion +2 attack permanently, which is important. This is just fantastic if you're running the self-damage beast lineup, and it's exactly what they need. If you're running a huge health lasher, it usually lacks damage. So if you have Lasher and you have the Bluebird, the tier 5 that buffs your board every time you take damage, with Tiger Carving, you can now build a respectable backline that actually gets very big, and you don't have to worry about putting damage on your unit, because this will do it already. It's also just going to make your support units deal way more damage. So now they're going to be able to kill something instead of just support that Lasher. So excellent trinket in my opinion if you're pushing into the self-damage beast direction. Lucky Tabby is also a new one. For 2 gold, you get an Avenge effect essentially, which says after 6 friendly minions die, get a random beast. I assume that this carries over from combat to combat, similar to how Ini's hero power carries over. So you don't have to have all 6 friendly minions die in one combat. You can have, you know, 3 in one, 3 in another, and then still get a beast. With all the removal of the early death rattle beasts, it seems like you would have to run something outside of the beast type to support this. Something like a recruiter, for instance, that then summons a lot of scallywags, which will give you a lot of death rattles, and then especially if you have a Titus on the board, that's so many minions dying, and you can use that to farm up your beast composition and then get rid of the other death rattle minions outside of the beast type when you're ready to transition into a full beast composition. This is very dependent on your start. Maybe you have some nice undead cards on your board early that can give you a lot of bodies. I would say if you don't really have support for this, so you don't have a lot of death rattle minions that can, you know, make more things, so more things die in the combat, it's not great. If you do it, it's fantastic because this is not a minion. Again, this is so important because when you're running something like a primate, you won't get perfect hits every time, and your primate will either attack and kill itself when some of your other death rattles haven't died yet, or the primate will get sniped early. This cannot get sniped. So especially in a game where you tie, which is perfect, all your minions are dead. So you will get some nice value from this. In my opinion, excellent pickup if you have support, and not that great if you don't have a lot of death rattles. Banana Slamma is back, sort of. It's now a greater trinket. Banana Slamma used to just double the stats of any beast you would summon in combat. Whenever you have something that doubles, it's really scary because you can just have multiple of those, and that very quickly gets out of hand. Similar to the Leapers, right? With the Titus, it's just times 2, times 2, times 2, and you very quickly get up to a very large number. Now, this is a trinket, and it's much harder to stack. There are some options where you can pick a lesser trinket that then either duplicates this, or you're able to buy a greater trinket, and I'm not sure if you can get offered the same greater trinket. I actually don't think so. So probably the only way you get 2 is if you choose to copy it. But still, right? That's not going to happen very often. And then it's only times 4, whereas in the past we've seen people go golden banana slamma, regular banana slamma, or double golden banana slamma, giving essentially times 9 to every beast, which is ridiculous. But the way how you run this is you have Macaw, Goldrin, and you put a lot of buffs on your summons, so that whenever a beast gets summoned, it already has quite a lot of stats, and then the sticker will just double whatever you're getting. Now again, we've seen a lot of the death rattle support going, but we have Indomitable Mount coming in, which will be a nice addition, especially if you can put that further back and actually get the full value, although with the Titus you'll pretty much never get full value. And then you can still use Raptor, which is nice because you're already getting plus 7/7 as a base stat line, and then if you have Titus plus Goldrin Macaw, you're putting a lot of extra stats on that, and then the sticker goes times 2. So this is still an excellent pickup if you have a Goldrin composition, but it's not as crazy as it used to be because it's far harder to stack and you can only ever get 2. Then we have Rivendare Portrait, which we have already reviewed. Stealth on a Titus. Yes, extremely good if you have Leapers. Oh god. Oh, disgusting. That's gonna be so toxic. Yeah, there's pretty much nothing you can do when there's a Leaper comp with a Stealth Titus. So good luck and have fun at the same time if you have this. Yeah, just ridiculous, because that's really how Leapers lose. Titus gets sniped. If Titus doesn't get sniped, Leapers kind of just win. Very scared of this, and it's obviously still fantastic with Goldrin. If you get full Titus value in a Goldrin fight, that's usually also just a win. But with Leapers especially, because it's exponential as long as the Titus is alive, it's super powerful. Then we have Tiger Carving, the upgraded version. Very similar to what I said for the previous one. If you have the self-damage setup, this is bonkers, because you have to keep in mind that if you have a Titus, if you have the Spiked Savior, if you have your Lasher, then you're just getting so many procs of self-damage, which usually if you have the Bird and the Lasher, it's fun, it's cool, but you don't see the board just blow up. Now this is like 4 damage to everything, 4 damage to everything, 4 damage, like it's pretty silly, especially if you imagine that there's like a golden Macaw and then a golden Savior with a Titus. That's so many rounds of 1 damage to everything, and then every time you get 1 damage to everything, you're getting 4 damage, right? Somewhere. It doesn't distribute perfectly because it says give it to a random friendly minion, so technically it could just buff the same a lot, but on average it should even out, so you're really just watching the board blow up with this. Pretty niche. It's okay if you have some Death Rattle beasts, but not insane. It really requires that Death Rattle self-damage setup to pop off, and I think in that particular setting it's going to be phenomenal. Then Feral Talisman, again, right, upgraded version. Not super excited about these. Probably something we just pick when, you know, you have some tokens and you're like, okay, I guess I'll just have my tokens be a bit stronger, but definitely not something I'm excited about. Then Golden Fish, anything that wants Fish of N'Zoth, really wants Golden Fish of N'Zoth as well. So, you know, Goldrin, good undead setup. Leapers, oh god, yes, Leapers with this is super silly. So yeah, I mean, doesn't require much explanation. And then we have a new one, Gilnean Thorned Rose. Avenge 3. Give your minions +3/+3 and deal 1 damage to them. So this is a little bit of a hybrid, but mainly wants to be run in a self-damage setup, of course, because the effect is 3/3, which is nice, but then you're also dealing 1 damage, which helps scale your Lasher, which helps scale your Bluebird. So it's fine, but I'm much more impressed by the 4 damage to everything per damage dealt, because it's so much easier in that setup to deal tons of damage than it is to summon lots of minions for Avenge 3. Now again, the upside for this is that it's a permanent buff, which is nice, and it cannot get sniped. So if all your minions die, a lot of stuff will have gotten permanent stats because this thing cannot get sniped. But I do prefer the other one if you have a proper self-damage beast setup. And then lastly, we have Horde Keychain, +6/+4 to all my minions that are tier 3 or lower. We've talked about this before, not super exciting, very comparable to the Talisman here. It's just this, you know, aura buff to low tier minions, which is fine. It's never useless, but it's not exciting to me at all. That was it for all the beast reveals. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please do remember to let me know what you guys think is going to be the perfect Leaper setup so I can hunt that down on day 1 and make a fun video about that. And tomorrow we have the last reveal, which is going to be Murlocs and Dragons.